Hello, empowered warriors. Welcome to another episode. How are you guys liking this May madness of podcasting? Have you been enjoying the fireside chats? And I'm also curious to know if you've had a chance to apply or to enter the contest that I'm running through the month of May yet. It is the 1-year anniversary of the podcast on May 29th, so I'll be doing a drawing for one lucky listener who enters the contest by listening to an episode, tagging me on Instagram with your takeaways, and tagging 2 people, and following me on Instagram. So easy peasy. I don't want to go into too much more detail. If you need any other instructions, just go into the show notes. But the lucky winner will win a 1-hour coaching session with me. So if you want to work with me, here's your chance. No pressure or anything. So in today's episode, I want to talk to you about the idea of being addicted to feeling needed. And I feel like this is like a real thing for sure. It's definitely a real thing. And it may or may not be a conscious choice that many people are making, especially women. So I was hanging out with some friends over the weekend, and this isn't the first time this has happened, obviously, but it's fresh in my mind, where one of my friends came to this gathering a little bit late. She was still catching her breath when she arrived. She clearly had been running around busy before she got there. And the first thing she said when she sat down was, "Everybody is needing me right now." And it was pretty obvious to me that she was tired. And I talked to her a couple of times throughout the course of our time together about what's been going on with her, and what it comes down to is that there's like 5 people in her life that are demanding things of her, demanding her time, demanding her energy, demanding time and energy, 2 very valuable resources and finite resources that each of us have as human beings, having the human experience. So let me ask you, are you somebody who is addicted to feeling needed? Do you equate feeling needed and being needed with being loved? And you may need to dive in and dig deep to answer this question honestly. Because when people hear the word addiction, a lot of times they think of substance. They think of drugs and alcohol, sex, and some of the more commonly known addictions that plague human beings. But what many people don't realize is that we can also be addicted to other things that are completely not in our awareness. And it's because of the brain. And I talk about brain habits a lot. I talk about brain science a lot, because habits, they all start in the brain. So if you're smoking a cigarette, if you're a smoker, if you drink a lot, if you are somebody that eats sugar, those are habits that all start in the brain and have formed a pathway in the brain that is very familiar at this point, that if you are doing these things, there's this pathway in the brain that makes it really easy for you to do it. And also, there is the benefit of the pleasure center of your brain getting lit up when you do certain things. And most people have addictions of some kind, whether they're soft addictions, whether they're hard addictions. And that's why it makes giving something up in many people's interpretation difficult. Although, as you'll probably discover, maybe after listening to this episode or listening to other episodes, that giving up habits that are not serving you, what is actually more difficult is the idea and the thought of having to give that up. But once you actually commit 100% to giving up something, it's easy. It's just a matter of making a choice and saying basically no to yourself, like you're going to tell your child no, like it's a hard no, right? That's really what it's about. So I want to circle back and get back to what I was talking about being addicted to feeling needed. Now, you might be listening to this and say, I'm not addicted, Angela. This is just what I'm supposed to do. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I am a daughter. I am a granddaughter. I'm a coworker. People need me. People need me, and they depend on me for my guidance or for my help or for my energy or whatever it is that they're seeking from you. And let me ask you this. If you are wondering if this is something that you do, if this is something that you're, I don't want to say the word guilty, but if this is something that you do, I don't like the word guilty at all. I've really worked very hard at taking that word guilt and guilty and shame out of my vocabulary. But anyway, if this is something that you recognize, if this is a pattern that you see in yourself and you believe that it is something that you should do or something that's just expected because it's your job or whatever, I invite you to really take a few steps and go deeper with that and ask specifically what is causing you to continue to bend when people ask you to do things that are... All right, well, let me backtrack. First of all, for those of you that are out there thinking, I just want to help somebody. I just want to help, my daughter or whoever is asking for your help. Let me ask you this first, okay? And I really invite you to get extremely honest. And it may or may not, but it may be uncomfortable for you to answer these questions. Are you helping? Are you actually helping? Or are you enabling? So unless you are talking about somebody that truly needs help, like a young child or an older adult who really actually needs your help, and you're finding that you are constantly being pulled by an individual or a few individuals and it's taxing your energy, you're feeling tired, you're feeling resentful, you're feeling angry, you're feeling exhausted, you feel like you don't have any energy left for yourself and for your own pleasure in life, are you helping or are you enabling? And for many people, it starts off as, well, it's my son, it's my daughter, he or she needs help. I feel so bad because she is stressed out and has all these commitments, and we're not talking about kids, okay? I just want to make sure we're perfectly clear. But so I am talking about grown adults or people who otherwise can normally take care of themselves. So if you are finding that you are constantly in this state of feeling pulled in many different directions, and it's preventing you from experiencing joy and all the happy feelings in life, and as a result, you're constantly feeling stressed or overwhelmed or just being robbed of your inner peace, I invite you to consider, what is the benefit to you constantly enabling a loved one? What is the benefit to you? So in talking to this person last weekend, she kept saying, I know I should put boundaries down, but I feel so bad. She's so stressed. And warriors, you probably know this if you're a listener. Life is about the lessons. Life is about the lessons, and there's some really good medicine or lessons for both of you in this situation. So for you, if you're the enabler and the one who's allowing or always running around helping other people at the cost of your inner peace, there's a lesson here for you. And that is, what is the benefit? So that is something to sit down and ask. Is it, well, it makes me feel better for a limited amount of time, or I feel more loved, I feel more love from my daughter, my son. I feel more at peace because I know that my son, my daughter is being taken care of. Whatever it is, there's some kind of benefit. Even if you're saying there is not a benefit, it could be the benefit is you are avoiding conflict and you don't want to have that uncomfortable conversation with your loved one that you're no longer going to help them with X, Y, and Z. And then for the person who is receiving your help that you are enabling, or, who actually needs the boundary drawn, there is a benefit, or there is an opportunity for them to learn it as well. And they may feel uncomfortable in the beginning if you decide and choose to draw the boundary for your own self-love, for your own inner peace. They may feel like rejected or angry or whatever their reaction is. And for them, the lesson is I'm learning that they get the opportunity to learn something about themselves that they didn't know before, that they get to grow, that they get to evolve, that they get to figure things out. Because what do you prefer? Do you want that person to be, 10 years down the road and continuing to not be able to figure things out on their own and not have the problem-solving skills? Or do you want them to continue to ask other people for their approval, for their help, for whatever it is that they're seeking? Warriors, we live at a time right now that is very pivotal, and we're basically being begged by the world's circumstances to step into our own power. That's what this is about. Okay, so all the things going on in the world, any time we have a conflict, whether it's at the international scale or in the confines of your four walls, you are being asked to grow into who you truly are. That's it. That is all it is that we are here to do, is to grow and to evolve. That's it. That's it, warriors. So, and I totally get it. I totally understand. I don't have children, but I understand what it feels like to be that person that's always on hand and who doesn't necessarily want to set that boundary. I understand how that feels. I have been that person in my marriage. I am not anymore. I have been that person in other situations, and it is uncomfortable to draw that boundary, especially if it's with somebody who is used to having that energy from you, and they associate that energy with love themselves. They may go into their own stories about how you don't love them or how you don't care for them. But what it really is, warrior, is an opportunity for you to truly love yourself and set an example for that other person of how they also treat themselves and treat other people. And over time, as we unfold and unravel and learn the lessons and learn how to love ourselves and learn how to draw the boundaries, that is going to create a ripple effect in other people. It's going to create a ripple effect in our loved ones, and they're going to create a ripple effect in other people and the people that they surround themselves with. And the world eventually becomes a much better place to live, because we're no longer living from that space of a 5-year-old. Because let's face it, warriors, there are many people walking around that are unhealed. They're unhealed from their childhood trauma, whether it's trauma with a capital T or trauma with a small t. We all have trauma. It could be small t trauma, like you were told when you were a kid that you weren't a good singer, or you were told when you were a kid that you weren't a good writer, and as a result, you've always believed that in yourself when that in fact is not true. So we all have these traumas that we're carrying around with ourselves, and as a result, we are often functioning like a 5-year-old until we heal those little traumas. Does that make sense? So what you actually see in other people's reactions when you set a boundary or when you notice, stupid behavior with other people, that is just their 5-year-old child acting out because they haven't fully healed from whatever it is that they didn't get the opportunity to heal or talk about or express when they were 5 years old. So basically, warriors, we're all a bunch of little kids. I had a coach that said that a lot. We're all a bunch of little children running around with unresolved conflict. And I'm not a therapist, but I am a coach and I help people with this. And it's really time for us to recognize our own personal power, and that these limitations, these stories, this programming that is going on in our minds from when we were, basically born is optional. And we're able to look at all of our brain habits. We have this opportunity now to look at all of our brain habits and to look at our choices and our habits that have unraveled as a result of these stories and these habits in our brain. And we can decide for ourselves what is serving us and what is no longer serving us. So just because you were taught something when you were 3 doesn't mean it's true anymore. And it's time to let go of the guilt and the shame and all of those stories around, my mom taught this to me, and if I let go of this, then I feel guilty. Or my dad gave this to me, and if I let go of this, then I feel guilty. Guilt and worry and shame are some of the lowest vibrational emotions in the human experience. I've said this many, many times on the podcast. So what would you prefer? Do you want to work from guilt, worry, and shame and all of those negative emotions? Or do you want to work from the higher emotions of joy, of self-acceptance, of empowerment, of personal power? And if you're out there listening and you say, I just feel, I'm going to say something that might sting a little bit, but I speak my truth and I speak it with love. But I know I know who several of my listeners are. And I know that you listen and you're like, wow, that was a really good episode. That was so good. So many truth bombs. And you listen once and then you move on to your next task. And that's, I do that too with my lessons. I do that too. I just invite you to, when you listen to this and you hear major truth bombs, to really stop and listen to that truth bomb again, or to press pause and go over that again and go into your journal, go into quiet reflection, go into your meditation, and really allow these lessons to teach you what it is that you need to know so that you can go next level. So if you are continuing to play those stories in your head over and over again about giving away your power to other people or not being able to afford something, if you're noticing these disempowering themes show up over and over again, disempowering meaning you don't feel good about it when you realize this about yourself. Know that this is optional, and know that these disempowering themes are an opportunity for you to go next level. It's not just a circumstance. It's an opportunity for you to go next level. And I say this because I really, really want you to get that about yourself. I really want you to get that about yourself. And here's a test, okay? Here's a test. When you get together with your friends or with your family, what is it specifically that you spend your most time talking about? Do you talk about your troubles? Do you talk about your worries? Do you talk about your limitations? Do you talk about your medical problems and how you're never going to get better? Do you talk about possibility? Do you talk about other people? Are you gossiping? Are you talking about how something isn't fair? Are you talking about how you weren't treated well? Are you talking about how you've been dishonored by somebody? Or are you talking about something in your life that you see a possibility in, that you're really excited about? So that's a really good litmus test there, is to be able to realize, and it's not your fault, okay? I'm not shaming anybody on this podcast. It's not your fault. This is what you've learned, and this is what you've grown up with. This is what you've been taught. This is acceptable conversation in society. And this is a way that we often bond with other people to be included in the tribe. So I realized that the next time you get together with people, if you choose not to have these types of conversations anymore that are disempowering, that you may be frowned upon. That is scary stuff. It's scary stuff to put those boundaries up. But if you're not happy in your life, it might be time to consider letting some of these behaviors and habits go. Perhaps it means letting go of a friendship. If your friendship is built on gossip and victim mentality and lack mentality and not possibility and not growth, it might be time to let some of these friends go. And warriors, I think it was episode 3, one of my very first podcast episodes, where I said I've let go of a lot of friendships. Because what do they say? You are the average of the 5 people that you spend most of your time with. I invite you to consider who those people are. Who are you spending your energy on? And are you feeling depleted when you spend your energy on these people? And like I said earlier in this episode, this is an addiction. And a lot of people don't look at it as an addiction because they think of addictions as being something else. But it's an addiction in the brain because it's comfortable at this point. Whereas going out and retraining your brain to be something else or to be somebody else requires effort. But let me tell you, as somebody who's been through it, and I'm still working on it, I am not perfect. I don't ever profess to be perfect. But as somebody who's been doing this for a long time, I can tell you that it's easy. And I'm not saying that it's easy like you can take care of this in one afternoon and you're done. It requires commitment. It requires discipline. It requires choice. So if you consider that difficult, it's only because you have been led to believe that change is hard. But it actually is really easy when you decide. I mean, think about it. Has there ever been a time when you've made a solid commitment to yourself and you followed through with it every day and it became a habit? It could be eating when you decide to eat well again, or get up every day and go to the gym, or go to bed earlier. Chances are you've seen evidence that this is possible for you. So there's also that possibility that you can start surrounding yourself with people who fill your cup and who do not take your power from you, or that you don't allow to take your power from you, because it's all about you. It's not about the other person. And you can also choose to end the addiction of feeling needed in order to be loved. So warriors, that's all I have for today. I hope you find this valuable. Tune in. There's going to be 2 more fireside chats for the month of May, so look out for those. I really, really love recording them and sending those out. They're so much fun. So I hope that this episode gave you some insight on how you have been in relationships with other people. And warriors, until next time, take good care. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Empowered Warrior podcast. It is an honor and a privilege to have you as a listener. If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast and would like to help others pave their pathway to freedom, end their disempowerment and suffering, and become an empowered warrior, please share this podcast with your friends and family. Also, it is my intention to help humanity grow and evolve to their highest potential. So if you really enjoy what you're hearing, please help me spread the word by leaving a review in iTunes. Thank you again, and I am so grateful to be able to serve you in this very exciting way.